Hey guys, it is Jen from Criminally Curious, and I am back with you for another book review. This time I am reviewing a book called The Devil at His Elbow by Valerie Bauerlein. I apologize if I'm pronouncing her last name incorrectly, but this is about the Alex Murdaugh case and trial. So if you are not familiar with that case, stay tuned because I'm going to be giving a brief overview. If you are familiar with the case, stay tuned because we're going to get into it a little bit. So this is the book that we're talking about today. Stick around. All right, guys, so today I am reviewing the book called The Devil at His Elbow about Alex Murdaugh. Now, just a brief summary if you are not familiar with the case. Back in 2021, so this is around when we were having COVID, Alex Murdaugh was a very prominent lawyer in South Carolina. His family was very powerful and they held tremendous influence over the whole region for almost a century. So the family line right down to Alex Murdaugh, they kind of were in control, right, of everything. So on June 7th in 2021, what really kind of starts the chain of events is that Alex's wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, were found shot to death at the family's hunting estate called Moselle. And Alex called 911, claiming he had discovered their bodies. Of course, he discovered their bodies. And then, of course, we've got the ongoing investigations during this time. So the murders really drew attention to the family in general and their long history in the area, their legal, their political ties, as well as his son's, Paul's, trial. He was actually on trial. He had a pending trial actually for a boating accident that happened in 2019 that killed a friend in his friend group. Her name was Valerie Beach. So he had an impending trial going on. Now in September of 2021, Alex was forced out of his own law firm for being accused of misusing millions of clients' funds. Think about it, guys, using his own clients' funds. And days later, he claimed to have survived a roadside shooting, which later it was revealed he staged that to collect his life insurance policy for his surviving son, Buster. So he set that up. Now, there's a lot of financial crimes that are involved in this case as well. During this investigation, the investigators uncovered widespread fraud and theft by Alex, including stealing from his clients, stealing from his law firm, and even settlements that were intended for the family of his late housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. Now, she also passed away on their property. The family claimed that she fell on some stairs. So wherever this family goes, you guys, there's bodies and missing money. In March of 2023, after a 6-week trial, Alex Murdaugh was found guilty of murdering his wife and his son, Paul. The prosecutors argued that he killed them to distract from his mounting financial crimes to preserve the sympathy for himself. And he was sentenced to 2 life terms in prison without parole. So ongoing, he still faces dozens and dozens of charges of related financial fraud, insurance scams, and other crimes. This guy, you guys, he was in it. So why did it gain national attention? It shocked the US because it exposed the corruption and the privilege and the downfall of the Murdaugh dynasty in South Carolina. That's why this thing was so huge. So going through a timeline, just hang on, I just lost my timeline. This is so I can give you the accurate information in case I forget anything. So again, in February 2019, this is when it kind of starts, Paul Murdaugh, Alex Murdaugh's youngest son, crashed a boat while allegedly driving drunk and killing a friend of his friend group, Valerie Beach, and she died in that accident. On June 7th, 2021, that is when Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found shot to death at their family estate at Moselle in South Carolina. In September 2021, Alex resigned from his law firm over the missing money, and he staged the fake roadside shooting. Between the years of 2021 and 2022, and remember COVID is going on at this time, guys, investigations reveal that Alex stole millions from his clients, his own law firm, and various settlements, okay? In July of 2022, Alex was indicted for the murder of his wife and his son. And then through January through March of 2023, they held the murder trial in South Carolina. And I do remember that happening because I did watch it. On March 2nd, 2023, the jury found Alex guilty of both murders. And then on March 3rd, 2023, he was sentenced to the 2 life terms in prison without parole. And I did watch him testify. He actually did get on the stand. Should he have? Should he not have? Well, here we are. So this book was fantastic. For those of you who are not familiar with the case, for those of you who are familiar with the case, this is by far one of the best true crime books that I have read. The Devil at His Elbow. Now, it is quite extensive. It is filled with interviews of family, the investigators, the police, everybody involved. It was fascinating. They had transcripts and everything from some of that famous photo footage that we had seen. Also, I wanted to mention on Netflix right now, there is the great documentary on this case. I forget what it's called. I think it might be called the Southern Scandal or something. But there's pre and post and pre-trial. So there's actually 2 seasons. So if you have Netflix, definitely check it out because it gives a great, it's a great, I don't want to say review, but summary of these events that lead up to this whole thing and this whole Murdaugh family just toppling down. So I highly recommend that documentary on Netflix if you guys do have Netflix. Getting back to the book, this was fantastic. It followed the timeline really well. It had all the key players because there's so many that were involved with this family, guys. That is the sad, sad part. I liked the writing style. It wasn't choppy. It wasn't textbook-like. It flowed from one chapter to the next. And even though I, watched the trial and followed what was going on, I mean, I was just page turning. I was stuck to my seat. So this is a fabulous book, you guys. And it's long, but it's fascinating. It does include pictures. You know how I love that they include pictures. So I just wanted to flip through a little bit here. This is the Murdaugh family. And this is the family that we're talking about, guys. We've got, let's see. Oh, here's Buster, the older son. We call Paul, who's the younger son. Maggie, Alex's wife, and there's Alex on the end. So the Alec murdered Paul and Maggie, allegedly. Well, not allegedly, he is in prison for that. And then we have some other pictures of some cases that just happened around them with people falling down dead, you guys. Here's Paul at his pre-trial about that boat crash that killed Mallory Beach, a friend. This is the property at Moselle. This is part of the trial. I do recognize some of these pictures. And then, of course, you had Alec, who testified at his own trial, guys. I don't know. Was that the smart thing to do? I don't know. So I highly, highly recommend this book, whether or not you know about the case. It's rich in detail, and it is absolutely fascinating. Again, dead bodies everywhere. I don't know what else to say. Like, dead bodies just follow this family around. But anyway, 5 stars, definitely 5-star review for the book. The documentary on Netflix, guys, I think it's called The Southern Scandal. Don't quote me on that. 5 stars. Definitely watch that if you can. It has interviews with the survivors, and it goes through all the different cases that are tied to the Murdaugh family. So I highly recommend that. So that is my book review for you this time around. I am going through these true crime books and giving you my review on them, whether or not it's worth the read. This one was definitely worth the read. All right, guys, leave me a comment below. Are you familiar with the case? Are you new to the case? Let me know. Also, if you've seen the documentary on Netflix, what you thought, drop a comment below. And what are you reading? Let me know in the comments. What book should I read next in true crime? Suggestions are welcome, guys. Suggestions are welcome. All right. Thank you all for tuning in for this review on Alex Murdaugh. And again, the book is The Devil at His Elbow. Highly, highly recommend, you guys. All right. Until next time, stay criminally curious.